The Big 12's massive lack of meaningful rivalries definitely doesn't help the national perception of the conference. Brett Yormark can change all of that by making big moves for the future of the Big 12 by, bringing back the Big 8. We need these rivalries.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, Big 12 and Big 8 country? Shout out to the regulators. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Mazda, who puts the same drive into every single detail. Wins define the moment, but putting in the work, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward moments, because there's more to Mazda, just like there's also more to you. We get to roll right into this conversation in regards to the Big 8 potentially coming back. Thank you, John Kurtz, for bringing this back to life last week, discussing how Nebraska, at one point in time, before Brett Yormark became the commissioner, was at least beginning the conversations of what would it look like to get back into the Big 12, because they were getting tons of complaints on all of the unnecessary travel. On top of that, they haven't had a ton of success in the Big 10. So regionality-wise, it doesn't work. Travel-wise, it doesn't work. From a football wins perspective, it doesn't work. The tradition of Nebraska has been completely gutted since their move to the Big 10, yet somehow Board of Regents found a way to get in the process and make it difficult. Evidently, the Nebraska Board of Regents were the hang-up in Nebraska coming back to the Big 12. That's probably a bad decision, right? And I'd assume if you ask some of those Board of Regent members now, if they made the wrong move, they would probably say yes. Now, OU is in this conversation thanks to USA Today, as is Missouri. And let's think about this thing. We've been talking about how the ACC could potentially fall apart, and the Big 12 can be the biggest beneficiaries by grabbing up some Louisville, Virginia Tech, Miami's of the ACC. I love that idea. I love it for future realignment, but I also love the regionality aspect of this so much more. Mizzou fans probably haven't had a lot of success in the SEC. I would assume that they would be willing to admit that and probably miss the days of the Big 12. Nebraska, we already kind of talked about that. We currently own Bedlam football, but of course, we want more opportunities to bring that back. Thankfully, Eric Morris and Raj Murdy have seemingly been fairly open to the idea of bringing Bedlam back. But instead of just a game or a home-and-home series, why not bring them back to the conference? Instead of grabbing some of the ACC schools, if/when they potentially have realignment issues, this makes the most amount of sense. And again, Nebraska, they probably regret the move. They made the move primarily because of Texas. OU wasn't even exactly the problem. It was Texas and the Longhorn Network and them feeling like they deserved more and this and that and the other. And that's why A&M left. But if you go back to Oklahoma State, we don't have a rival in this conference. Most teams in this conference don't have a rival. Farmageddon, it's not even a yearly thing anymore, so it's hard to call that a consistent rivalry for the Big 12. We lean on the Holy War. That's it. That is the whole kit and caboodle for the Big 12. And I think that rivalry weekend has a huge devoid when it comes to Big 12 marquee games. So just like Nebraska probably regrets that move, Mizzou likely regrets the move. I think you can make the argument that A&M should also regret the move. But out of that bunch, maybe A&M doesn't leave because of finances. Maybe OU wouldn't leave SEC also because of finances. And they do kind of somewhat fit. Nebraska doesn't. Missouri doesn't. Bringing back Colorado was absolutely phenomenal for the conference. So why not complete this thing? If Brett Yormark is looking at the future of realignment, he has to realize that there's no way Nebraska can be happy with their current situation. I don't even think USC fits into the Big 10 either, but it is what it is. It's a realignment world, so we are where we are. From an Oklahoma State fan perspective, yeah, we won the last Bedlam, so give us more of it. We even won the last game against Mizzou, not only in a bowl game, but we also won the last Big 12 matchup against Mizzou. Nebraska did get us last time we played, but right before that, we got them for our biggest margin of victory ever inside Boone Pickens Stadium when we beat them 45-14. And I'm sure, it makes sense for them to want to be back in this conference. And I know, Texas A&M isn't exactly being considered here, but I mean, even the Aggies, we got them last time we played them. Matter of fact, we've got them 4 of the last 5 times we've played them. Nebraska, a little bit different, but Bedlam, we've won 2 of the last 3 in Bedlam. This just makes the most amount of sense. The last Big 12 dub for Oklahoma State against Mizzou, 45-24. I would assume that they want some get back. And the travel and the nonsense that comes with all the other conferences, it has to factor into this equation. So I think the USA Today and John Kurtz and everybody else talking about this are absolutely nailing it. We haven't considered this enough. Again, we talk about realignment and grabbing teams from X, Y, or Z, and UConn maybe in basketball and Gonzaga potentially in basketball. We have these conversations, but for whatever reason, the most logical one is, well, why don't we just bring back the Big 8 as much as physically possible? Because again, OU financially, A&M financially, they do kind of fit in the SEC, right? So that makes some sense. But Nebraska has to be yearning for those rivalries again as well. That means something. And that's what the Big 12 currently does not have. And I think that hurts the negative perception of the Big 12 nationally, is because we don't have a lot of these marquee games. And when we do have marquee games, the very following season, it's not even the same ordeal or the same excitement or the same buildup. Like if you're going to have rivalries and it's supposed to be Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, that needs to be a yearly game. If we're supposed to continuously hate Utah, that needs to be a yearly game, but that's not happening. So in the meantime, why not do what's best for the Big 12 and do what's best for these other universities? Nebraska belongs in the Big 12. So does Mizzou. I think you could make the argument that Texas A&M does too. OU, 100%. And again, just the pulse of the fan base, I think a lot of OU fans would bluster and bolster and say, no, we don't want in the Big 12 anymore. We're above that. We're past that. I don't know about all that, right? They didn't leave the Big 12 in the greatest wins-loss component. The Lincoln Riley thing didn't help the scenario at all for OU fans. But they ran the Big 12, right? So why would they not want to come back to the conference if they feel like now that they're finally getting some solid footing in the SEC, that automatically means, well, we could go back to running the Big 12. Come on, then. It's hard to turn down the money they're getting. I get that. But also, if you do get an OU back or Nebraska back and a Mizzou back and the Big 12 kind of gets regalvanized, I think the financial compensation for each school would improve. I think the Nebraska would get a ton of more credibility if they came back to the Big 12. And I also think that they would have more success in the Big 12 because the recruiting, it's different. Nebraska has been forced to get out of their comfort zone when it comes to recruiting. Back in the Big 12, I think that changes some things for them. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about this, because the Big 12 is missing out. The biggest miss for Brett Yormark has been the lack of establishing rivalries and not capitalizing on some of the things that he brings up, right? We're entertaining third-party equity, and then other places go off and do it. This is a great opportunity for Brett Yormark to basically fix the Big 12 by bringing it back to some of the Big 8 days. It is at that time where you need to find the best hires physically possible. Workplace chaos is unnecessary, right? You got deadlines stacking up. You got your inbox overflowing. And the one position that you've been needing to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, the experience, location, all inclusive. So you're not just hoping for the right candidate to stumble across the post. And here's a cool stat. In this time that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you are hiring, Spend less time searching and more time interviewing the candidates who check all of the boxes. You don't just want to have a casual hire. You want somebody that you know is going to enhance your business, that you know is going to fulfill a need instantaneously. Indeed Jobs is the best in the business for that. So get with Indeed today. Listeners of this show, by the way, you'll get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Less stress, less time worrying, more results. You need to get the right person and cut through all of the chaos. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. But if you need to hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Rolling right along here. Cowboy baseball is showing some signs of life, and I'm trying to cater my expectations because what we saw this last couple games against Grand Canyon was small ball. What I've been preaching about and yelling into this microphone repeatedly, it finally happened. But the reason I'm trying to cater my expectations is because this happened last year, right after Arlington, right, to kick off the season. We had a couple games there where we were playing small ball. We were keeping it simple, just putting the ball in play, laying down bunts, stealing, advancing runners, putting pressure on the other team. That is what we did the last couple games against Grand Canyon and Atlanta. We look like a ball club, ladies and gentlemen. We look like a really good baseball team. Talent has never been an issue. It will never be an issue, right? And that might should be one of the few things that has Rob Walton at least slightly concerned is anybody can walk into Obrate as a head coach and have top 25 recruiting classes just because of the facilities, right? It is what it is. There's only a handful of places you can go to get major league level training and major league level of equipment and recovery and cryotherapy and all that stuff. Obrate has what you're looking for. So whenever you see the baseball team not doing what they're supposed to do, not living up to the expectations, I don't buy into this. The expectations have changed things. I really don't. And call me crazy. Let me know in the comment section. Am I crazy for thinking that Oklahoma State baseball should still be Oklahoma State baseball? AKA, we should be competing for a Big 12 title every single year. Every other year, worst case scenario. And we should be hosting every single year. We should be expecting to host a super regional every other year, maybe every 3 years. We should be expecting to be in Omaha once every 3-4 years. To me, that has always been the expectations of Cowboy baseball for the most part. This idea that the expectations have changed because X, Y, or Z, I don't get that. And I certainly don't think that Cecil Obrate would have built the nicest, or at least one of the top 3 nicest facilities in America if he was told, by the way, when you build this, we're only going to host one super regional over the next 7-8 years. I don't think he would have donated the money to get it done. I could be crazy, but again, I just don't buy into this idea that we need to calm down and our expectations are too high. We should be happy hosting regionals. I don't buy it. I don't buy that. So obviously, we started the season pretty bad. And what do we complain about? We're swinging for the fences. We're trying to just kill the ball 24/7. And then we got a big win against Vandy. When the ball met the barrel, it worked out. And then we started off against Grand Canyon the same way we started the season, swinging for the fences and trying to play a bunch of launch angle power ball. And then we got some solid pitching. Game 2, got a dub. Game 3 and 4, though, that was a small ball club. Like when you got guys like Sebastian Norman and Ezra Essex that can absolutely book it, they need to be out there. Right? I love having some old school dudes, but you open this thing up with an 8-12 loss against one of their number 4-ish pitchers. And then game 2, you faced their first round major league draft pick, and we dominated Garrett Ahern. We dominated him. So we struggled against the number 4 arm, and we absolutely destroyed the major league arm. Like, that's just insane. And we won 9-1. And then we start playing some small ball. We win 10-7. We start playing some small ball with a couple bombs mixed in there. We run roll to get out of there. So, yeah, that is extremely encouraging. And as an Oklahoma State baseball fan, that was my first love, right? Like getting into, you could go into Alley P for free after the 7th inning. So me and my dad went to every single game physically possible. Extra innings, free baseball. That's where that terminology comes from. It's free baseball. It's free baseball to, some of us that just kind of had to filter in there. But let's go with the obvious. If we're not swinging out of our shoes and striking out repeatedly, we're a good ball club. But here's the problem. First game of the season, we struck out 15 times. And then against OU, we struck out 17 times. We, quote unquote, only struck out 9 times against Vandy. We got a dub. We struck out 15 times against Grand Canyon. We lost. Struck out 17 times against Grand Canyon. And thanks to Hudson Barrett, we still found a way to get a dub. Oh, and our fielding percentage is number 1 in the Big 12. So at least that's encouraging as well. And then again, you get to that small ball stuff. We only struck out 9 times. We win. We only struck out 3 times. We win. When you're not striking out 15, 17, 16, 15, 17 times, you're probably going to win. And I know people are kind of, up in arms to some degree about the pitching staff. Blake Hawksworth, it's kind of new. There's no telling, what he is having to work with. But the Cowboys have some teeth if we play legitimate ball. But 85 strikeouts in the first 6-7 games, that's insanity. That's absolute insanity. So, again, I'm trying to calm my nerves and not expect that this is going to be the new version of Cowboy baseball we continually roll out with, because we've done this before. We've had a game or two where we would play some small ball and we would beat somebody at their own game. Like when we beat ORU last year, we beat them at their own game. And then we reverted right back to the swinging for the fences and trying to throw 105 every time. I love that we can recruit top 10 talent. If you're a 6'7" pitcher, you can come to Oklahoma State, right? You can go to Oklahoma State, Vandy, Arkansas, Mississippi State, LSU. Outside of that, there's not a lot of places for the top talent in the country to go. But at the same point in time, I always work back to 2016. That was not a power ball club. That was the ball club that Josh Holliday inherited. So he had to play gritty, small ball, just constantly putting pressure on the other team and constantly trying to move bases and constantly trying to manufacture runs and just going with pitches. We're trying to pull stuff all the time. We're trying to send stuff to the moon all the time. But the last 2 games against Grand Canyon, we weren't doing that. We were taking what was given, right? If it's a ball outside and it's outside, but the blue keeps giving it, instead of trying to jack it out of the park, we're just simply poking a barrel out there to either drive it up the line, poke it up the line, get a little humpback liner, or simply stay alive to get to the pitch that we want. The last 2 games against Grand Canyon, we started doing that, and it seemed to be strategic. But again, we have shown signs of having the ability to do this, and then completely went back to the swinging for the fences thing. And I think the beauty of just taking what's given to you and going with the pitch and simply putting the ball in play, when you do that, I think you allow momentum to build. Then you can start having some dudes run into one. That's Colin Ritchie did the last 2 games. And it's that momentum that we just can't ever seem to build because we're striking out so many times. And typically it's in a matter of 4 or 5 pitches. So I always tell my kids, if you're fouling off and you get a 9, 10, 11 pitch AB, even if you don't get on base, you kind of won the AB because you got his numbers up to where we can get to that bullpen. Little stuff like that we just don't do until this last couple of games. So if this is going to be what we roll out the rest of the season, color me flipping excited. Because we just proved we can dominate major league talent, but we can struggle against, lesser opponents. And that's been the case for Oklahoma State, basically under Josh Holliday. We can bang with the big boys typically, but when we're playing a small ball club that is about execution, it kills us. So it's nice to see that we have the ability to do that. And it didn't make any sense. Like we talked about before the beginning of the season, Josh Holiday himself was saying that Ezra Essex and Sebastian Norman are two of the fastest players, and yeah, Remo. Those are some of the fastest players that have ever come through Oklahoma State, and we weren't using them. We weren't playing small ball. We weren't putting pressure on the defense. We weren't trying to move runners. We weren't trying to manufacture runs until the last two games. So I don't know why we all of a sudden woke up and said, you know what? Let's start being a little bit more intentional in our approach at the plate. Let's start creating a little bit of havoc. Let's start putting pressure on the defense. Let's start putting pressure on the pitcher to make him not miss his spots. But that's what we did. And that's what I've been screaming in front of this microphone for the whole 3 years we've been doing this, is play more small ball. I love having the Nolan Schuberts and the Colin Bergmans of the world. We all do. But I also love seeing a baseball team make baseball moves as a team just to get runs across the board. It's a lost art of baseball. And for some reason, Josh lost that art years ago. If that is how we're going to continue to play, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's also fun to get out and experience the feeling of a Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward moments, because they're always moving the game forward, just like, they know there's more to the score than what's just simply on the screen. Things that remind us of what it takes to raise the bar every single day. It's about that extra work off the court, off the field, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that never quit attitude. Mazda puts that same passion into every single model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it all count. So, there's more to Mazda. So get with Mazda today, because there's also more to you. Not so fast, my friends. It's capitalization time, and FanDuel is the bee's knees for all of your betting needs. If you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, this is your opportunity. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. And with the way Cade Cunningham is playing, this might be an opportunity for us to see Cade do it on the big stage in the NBA. It might even be against our very own Thunder. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered in for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole shebang is covered for you. If you're already looking at the board and thinking, well, which team can make a deep run here, this is the perfect time for you to lock it in. You're going to love the futures, especially this time of the year, whether it's picking a team to win it all, grab a conference title, or whatever the case may be. It just adds that extra layer of excitement because your investment level climbs. And now, not only can you pick your cash, you can also send you to the finals of the NBA. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future to get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, rolling along here. USA Hockey does it twice, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Oklahoma State Hockey also got 2 wins to advance themselves to the Nationals for the Cowboys. And it makes you wonder, right? We saw some college guys. There was a Penn State guy representing Team USA. With the climb that Oklahoma State Hockey's been making and the investment level that evidently some investors or donors are making to Cowboy Hockey and this legitimate push to try to get to this D1 marker, if that all is going to come together like it seems like it is, because they dominated Michigan to begin the postseason 10-0, and then they absolutely dusted Arizona State. I believe it was 9-2. Now they head off to the Nationals tournament for an opportunity to win let me get this. It's a Division II ACHA D2 national title. This is a big opportunity. March 12th through the 17th. This will be in St. Louis, Missouri. First time in history that Oklahoma State's going to have an opportunity to do this. This ascension for Cowboy wrestling has been pretty quick. And it makes you wonder, are we ever going to see a Cowboy on the ice for Team USA? Like Caden Nelson, he could be a prospect. He just reached 100 points in a single season. He's the first Cowboy to ever do that. And we've climbed so much. It's definitely a possibility that we get the Division I, especially if you go out and win this, right? Obviously, we've got a few more games to take care of things. But Oklahoma State hockey could genuinely be a competitor in Division I within the next handful of years. And it begs the question, could we potentially be seeing a future USA representative on the ice for Oklahoma State? Right? You've heard about these investors are getting some of these OHL or whatever dudes to come take visits to Oklahoma State, to come play at Oklahoma State instead of going through their draft or playing for their semi-pro teams or whatever the case may be. There's a serious push here. And so now we got to see U.S. hockey absolutely take the cake, take the gold, win the whole darn thing. It had to be cool for Penn State fans, for Boston fans, to see their college dudes on the ice for America. And how cool would that be to have an Oklahoma State dude on the ice in a USA jersey? At the rate that we're going, it feels like it's for real a possibility. But at the same point in time, it's only once every 4 years, and they only take the best, 18, 20 dudes in the entire country. So to even be a bench guy would be massive. And I think it would do a ton for Oklahoma State. So for all of you out here that follow Cowboy hockey to a crazy degree, let me know. Do you think that there's somebody on this team that is good enough to potentially someday maybe be in that uniform? Or is one of these big-time OHL kind of dudes that we're trying to get to Stillwater, could they be the future Oklahoma State hockey player repping a USA jersey in the Olympics? It's really crazy to see Oklahoma State hockey go from a group of dudes putting some stuff together to a group of dudes that started winning to a group of dudes that were convincing other people that grew up playing hockey to jump on board, to getting donors to jump on board, to now getting some of the top players in the country to forgo whatever they were trying to do and instead come to Stillwater. Like, it's crazy to think. And when is that hockey matchup going to happen inside Boone Pickens Stadium? I mean, yeah, at this point in time, it's got to be a thing, right? Anyway, that's all we're going to have for this one at Rise here. And then we're going to get into some wrestling next. Poor Iowa, huh? Yeah. Well, anyways, you know the drill. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere, so happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, that's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast and people out there, you're everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do, so go do what you do, hit the stars, and leave some more reviews. Alrighty, y'all. Later, taters.